Yes. All right. We're live. We're recording. Hi, everyone. I'm Madeline Carey. I'm the Greater Gila Guardian. I am joining you from my living room in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I've worked as the Greater Gila Guardian for the past 6 years at Guardians, and that has included many different components of working on the forest planning process, which is what we're going to talk about today. And I'm mostly here to play tech support, which I haven't been doing a very good job of so far. So I'm actually going to turn my video off once Leah and Adam get started.
Hi guys, my name is Leah, and I work with Madeline in. I am a campaigner, so I work mostly on the ground in the communities surrounding and within the Gila National Forest. I am fairly new to forest planning, but I think it's a fantastic process. Being a user of public lands and national forests, I recognize how important it is for us all to participate in the forest planning process.
Great. My name is Adam Risson. I am the rewilding advocate. I'm located in Missoula, Montana, and I have been working with Maddie and Leah to help engage on the Gila Forest Plan revision process. I am quite an expert on forest planning as it applies to roads and motorized recreation. This past year, I've commented on 8 different forest plans. It's been a great time.
And we are all guardians. We are all part of. We protect and restore the wildlife, wild places, wild rivers, and health of the American West. We really envision a world where wildlife and wild places are respected and valued, and our world is sustainable for all beings. We believe in nature's inherent right to exist and thrive, and we speak for the wildlife, places, and waters that have been dominated and abused to serve the interests of a greedy few. And bit by bit, we are restoring the balance. And as we like to say, we are now, as always, a force for nature. And we're really into rewilding, and Adam's going to tell us a little bit more about what that means.
Great. So yeah, you hear the word rewilding, and what does it really mean to you? You'll go out to the forests and you will see stream banks eroding, you'll see weeds, you'll see roads, you'll see abandoned mines. These are really scars left by decades of mismanagement. And rewilding seeks to return wildness back to these scarred landscapes. And we do that through education, advocacy, and the effective use of law. And that is the mission of the Rewilding Initiative.
So I imagine you have the same response as I do, Adam, that when you hear roads in the forest, it feels totally counterintuitive. Can you tell me about why there are roads in the forest, what they're used for, who maintains them?
Absolutely. So most roads were constructed back when forests were primarily used for logging and mining and grazing. The main focus was resource extraction. And this was really before there was a forest plan, specifically the 1986 forest plan, and there were no restrictions on where you could punch in a road. Roads were also created by people driving their off-road vehicles wherever they could point their machines, and really without any restriction whatsoever, they carved up the landscape. And the Forest Service back in the late 90s thought it was a good idea just to add as many roads as they could find that were created by off-road vehicles to their system of roads. So today, according to the Forest Plan analysis, there is about 4,571 miles of roads on the Gila National Forest. And just to give you an idea, you could drive from Santa Fe to New York twice and still not cover that many miles of road. Only 27% of those roads are actually closed, either in storage or for administrative use, which means there's 3,334 miles of open roads on the Gila National Forest. 88% of those are what's called high clearance roads. That means they're built for logging trucks or the big jacked up pickup trucks or your off-road vehicles. Only 12%, 402 miles, are actually for passenger cars. So this is just a sprawling, massive road system that's really built for resource extraction. And that's primarily what the roads are used for today. They're used to access grazing allotments and mines. They're used for logging and for off-road vehicle use. And of course, you know, a small percentage of those roads are what we would like to use to get to our trailheads so we can get away from all that noise. Now, unfortunately, who maintains it? Well, not the National Forest Service. They have a $2.72 million maintenance backlog. They can only afford to maintain 9% of their massive road system, which means the rest is just left, often leading to problems like failing roads, eroding roads, and other, you know, damages that cause from that lack of maintenance, which I know we're going to talk about in a minute.
It's outrageous, truly. I mean, that's a mind-bogglingly large number of road miles in the forest. Do they have any impact on other things in our national forests, like on the rivers and the streams, or the wolves and the bears?
Absolutely. You know, roads have a range of impacts. In fact, there's an entire science called road ecology devoted to studying the impacts of roads. And we could take the rest of the afternoon talking about road impacts. I'm just going to highlight a few of them. And as you kind of allude to, you know, roads by their very nature erode. That means they cause sediment and dirt, which is the sediment, flowing into streams. This sediment has lots of problems for water quality and for fish. Roads have big pipes under the ground, underneath them in places, especially at stream crossings. And this allows the streams to still flow underneath the road and for fish to swim. Unfortunately, a lot of these culverts are not appropriately sized, and they often get blocked by debris. And then they get, you know, they fail. In some places, the road actually gets washed out at these crossings, and you can see a road just in the stream bed. Also, roads increase the spread of noxious weeds. And at the landscape scale, roads actually break up the landscape, chopping it into smaller bits. And this is fragmentation, and it makes the landscape unsuitable for many different species and harder for them to thrive. Roads create barriers to wildlife movement, reducing their security, their ability to forage for food. Roads make the harmful effects of climate change even worse, and roads also provide a vector for human-caused wildfire conditions. So when you're driving your machine out in the remote areas, these are where human instances of wildfire will begin. So those are just some overviews of many different impacts that roads have on the landscape.
That's a disparaging number of negative impacts for the forests and all the other creatures who live within them. Tough to hear. So correct me if I'm wrong, Adam, but you submitted 26 pages of comments to the Forest Service about their proposals for how the Gila National Forest should manage its road system going forward. What did you say in those comments?
Well, I'm prepared to read all 26 pages to you right now. Well, no, I'm not going to do that to anybody. Just clear, the draft plan has what's called components. These are required by the rules, and they are desired conditions, objectives, standards, and guidelines. All forest plans have these components. Now, the one specific to roads in the Gila plan for desired conditions direct that roads will have minimal impacts on the ecological and cultural resources. And there's a desired condition that directs roads be decommissioned. That means they're actually treated and removed or, you know, made inert in some way. Now, these are good desired conditions, but they really could be stronger and need to be stronger. What's more is that there's not enough other components to make sure that the forest will achieve these desired conditions. And just to give you an example, there is one objective that calls for decommissioning roads, which is good. The bad part is it's only 50 miles over 10 years. There's over 4,500 miles of roads on the forest, and they're going to get rid of just 50 miles of them within 10 years. The life of a forest plan can last 15 to 20 years. We've seen some that are 30, but still, that's just woefully inadequate. And standards are really what's necessary and what we really include in our comments is stronger standards to make sure that the road system doesn't harm fish and wildlife. And this is really where the plan falls short.
So it sounds like we could really use some more voices of public users chiming in to talk about what needs to happen with the roads in the Gila National Forest. And if you could tell some of our friends out there who are listening what the 3 key things are that they should ask for in their comment letters, what should they say?
Well, I think first and foremost, urge that the Forest Service identify and implement a minimum road system. This is a road system that is both ecologically and economically sustainable. The next thing that we really urge is that the Forest Service includes some components that ensure the removal of temporary roads. Temporary roads are really the bread and butter of what the Forest Service is relying on these days to get at the resource. They pretend they're going to get rid of them, but you can never really truly get rid of a temporary road once it's carved up a landscape. So we need components that will really address the temporary roads. And finally, a draft plan must include road and motorized trail density standards. These standards will help restore wildlife, improve habitat, and improve the connectivity for a range of species, including Mexican wolves.
Those seem like totally reasonable things that would be beneficial for so many of us who love the forest and so many who dwell within the forest. That's great. So the most important thing you can do, all of you watching, to help protect wolves and trout and all the wild things is to write a quick, and it can be less than a page, letter to the Forest Service telling them why you love the Gila. Be specific. Tell them what you want them to do about roads using some of Adam's key talking points. And tell them how it will help protect and restore your favorite things about the Greater Gila. We really appreciate your involvement in this. And thanks so much for tuning in.
I'm jumping back in to say that the deadline for comments is this Thursday, April 16th. And when we post this video, we'll post for you the contact information for where you should be sending your comments to. And we'll post our contact information if you guys have any questions about how to write a letter. But it can be really simple and say, I'm Madeline. I love trail running. I don't love running on roads with lots of 4x4 vehicles. And I love going down and running in the Gila and having a wild experience. And therefore, I want the Forest Service to identify a minimum road system. That's all it has to be. And then you can put it in the snail mail or in the email or anything else. So chiming in, April 16th, that's the deadline.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.